Welcome back, old school scares, to our 31 Days of Halloween, and now we are deep into the monster movies, and we've moved away from the 1950s and into the 1990s. So we have Tremors from 1990, one of the great classic monster movies from that time. Also has turned into a ridiculous franchise with a ton of sequels that they're still creating. This movie was great because it had actually a lot of really good things going on for it. First of all, great monster effects, great practical monster effects, right? This is really kind of on the cusp of when you start to get into some CGI stuff. You know, we'll see that in a little bit with some of the Jurassic Park stuff soon in one of our video reviews. But this one was really a lot of practical effects. A really great cast, right? You know, you have Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward as our two main characters. You have the two survivalist hunters with Michael Gross and Reba McEntire, who are absolutely excellent in the movie. You know, you've got Finn Carter, who is, you know, a pretty well-known female actress at the time who had a pretty decent career for herself. And it was directed by Ron Underwood, right? And Ron Underwood actually had a pretty interesting career. You know, I'm kind of looking through and doing some research on this video. You know, right after this, he did City Slickers, which was a pretty huge movie. He did Mighty Joe Young, which is kind of a genre movie, you know, kind of a take on King Kong. And then he did The Adventures of Pluto Nash with Eddie Murphy, which was an absolute bomb. Like one of the worst bombs of all time financially. And then from there, look, he went back into directing TV, and he's had a long and successful television career. But let's talk about Tremors for a second, just as a premise of a movie. It's great. You know, you think about it, the isolated town in the middle of the desert. You know, Finn Carter's character is, you know, basically a college student looking at, you know, earthquake activity in the area. And you have these underground creatures, they end up calling them like graboids, who are just basically going through and, you know, eating everything in sight. So if you walk on it, it kind of, you know, any type of vibration sets it off. And it was funny when I was thinking about this. It really did kind of harken me to think about like A Quiet Place all these years later, with a very similar premise, right? You know, the Quiet Place is noise, but this is vibration. But it's kind of the same thing. You know, if you make any type of movement, the creatures will kind of come after you. And it's just so well done. I mean, the two lead actors in this, they just play so well off each other. Kevin Bacon and Fred Ward are great together. Two great actors. I mean, obviously we know the great career that Kevin Bacon has had, but Fred Ward, I mean, has done so many great, cool things. You know, he's just had a ton of success in Hollywood for such a long time. When you see him, you're like, oh, I've known that guy in a million movies. You know, I think back, there's actually really a lot of cool, iconic scenes in this movie. You know, for me, it's really the couple scenes that come into play. You know, the scene where they find their neighbor stuck up on a telephone pole and he's died of dehydration because he just was terrified to come down and be attacked by the monsters. It's pretty good. The scene where they actually are in the town and people are trying to hide, I think that's probably one of the better scenes in the movie. But I think probably the two best scenes in the movie are the Michael Gross and Reba McEntire's character, you know, are survivalists, and they have this underground bunker, and you actually hear one of the graboids just come through the wall, and they have this giant elephant gun and destroy it, and they're trying to figure out how to get to the rock, the solid rock in the mountains, because the creatures can't dig through that. So in that scene, they've got this old, you know, tractor, and they're using an old, you know, tractor trailer to try to get through, and then the creatures attack it. That's probably the best, most effective scare in the movie, because there's some parts in there that are pretty genuinely, you know, not nerve-wracking, but there's a suspense there. Is everyone gonna make it? So I think that was pretty well done. I think this is just a really fun movie. If you've never seen it, again, it's only an hour and 35 minutes, so it's an easy watch. It's a great watch on an afternoon. You can watch it with your kids for the most part. It's not super bloody or gory. There's not a ton of bad language, so it's not a movie that, again, is going to be offensive like a slasher that you can't watch with the entire family. So I think this is one, if you haven't seen it, I would recommend. I think you would have a lot of fun with it. We're going to talk about a completely different movie tomorrow that I'm super excited about. A movie I've always loved, and it's so bad, but I absolutely enjoy it. And it's got a great cast. It's a ton of fun. So we're going to talk about, from the mid-'80s, we're going to talk about Q the Winged Serpent. A great, fun monster movie. So we'll come back and talk about that in just a minute. You know, we'll share that with you tomorrow. If you haven't done so far, please hit that like and subscribe button. We appreciate everyone that checks out the channel. And as always, stay scared.